Hey, welcome back to the shop. My name's Dan, and this is where I build, maintain, and sometimes repair my model airplanes. But today, I just wanted to put together a quick video. First of all, I put out a video last week, and I just wanted to thank you guys. I got a lot of great comments, a lot of people, it'd been a while since I put a video out, and I got a lot of, hey, it's good to see you back, and glad you're not dead, and all that. Okay, nobody said that, but, you know where I'm going with this one. It was just really nice that to get that kind of feedback that quickly from posting a video. And actually, there was a couple of really good questions in the comments that I kind of wanted to address really quickly here. And then let's move on. Let me see here. Greg, you actually asked two questions. I'm going to have to stop for just a second here to check and see. One of them was regarding where I think the CG is going to fall on this plane, because you cited, of course, there are servos way to the back. I mean, it's got 3 servos in the very back of the plane in an area where you would think it would affect it and make it tail heavy. And, I think, judging by Mark's airplane, which is the one that I'm looking at for a lot of my setup and stuff like that, Mark on his plane has a Homelight 30cc engine, and it's kind of heavy. I mean, the Homelights were basically cut out of the cowling of a weed whacker or a chainsaw or something like that, but his has a magneto on the front end. He doesn't have electronic ignition or anything like that. And his engine has a lot of parts on it that, you try to eliminate as much of the excess metal as you can. And so it makes it quite different than, a stripped down engine like this. This is the DLE 30 that's going on mine. There's not a whole lot of flim flam around it. It's just pretty much got the engine that it needs to have and none of the excess metal, and of course not a magneto on it. This one does have an electronic ignition. So that being said, his has a heavy magneto up in the front. The difference from the center of gravity here and the front of the firewall is pretty short, actually. I think a lot of planes have longer moments on the front, so that means the engine's sticking out a little bit further. But even with the shorter moment on it, his plane is exactly like mine, he had to add weight to the back end, even with that heavy magneto up in the front. So I think he has I want to say it's probably about 1.5 ounces of weight at the extreme back end, right around the tail wheel, to get that thing to balance out. He had to add weight to the tail. I think I might be in that same situation because the parts that I'm using are lighter than what he's got. Now, there is a couple things that are different. I'm going to have to add a battery up to the front end. So the main battery for the radio is going to be here, but I also have this. This is one of those LIFE batteries. It's going to be running the electronic ignition on this plane. So this will be packed up in the front, and I'm hoping that's going to be enough weight, because I hate having to add weight to an airplane. But luckily, if you ever have to add weight to the tail end of it, because it is so far away from the CG compared to the front end and having to add more nose weight to it, that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned, but you tend to not have to add very much weight to the back as compared to what I would have to add in the front. So that's actually a pretty good fear, I think. I think I'm going to have to add more weight to the front end to get this thing to balance out correctly, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Somebody else asked about Trixie, and I guess you must not have held on to the very end of the video, because I did hold up Trixie. She's over there sleeping right now again, but she was in the last video. So yeah, Trixie is still alive and well. And actually, I've got 2 other cats in here, and I've also got 2 dogs in the shop now. There's enough room where I can actually house everybody. But so over time, you'll probably get to meet the rest of the cast too, I guess. Let me just get to where I'm at today. And that is, I'm working on the front end here, and I was building a video for this last week where I was talking about how I was going to handle this front end, because there's some pieces that need to go into this front end, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to organize them all. First of all, let's talk about this. This is a this is the ignition box that's going to go into the airplane, and this is what's going to be giving the spark to the engine. It doesn't have a magneto on it, so this is what it uses. And typically, when I build a plane that uses an ignition system, I like to mount the box up on the firewall somewhere. But the problem with this firewall is it's so small, there's no room for it. And it's also got a rear carburetor, which pushes right up against the front end. So there's not a whole lot of room for me to do it. So it's going to have to go inside the box. The problem with it going inside the box is this wire here has to come out. It has to pass through the firewall or underneath or something else in order to hook on to the spark plug that's going to be hanging down out here. The other problem is it's got this pickup wire. This is the wire that connects to the wire that is on the engine here. And it's just a little connection. And it's got this is the pickup wire for the magnet that is for the timing on the engine. And so this has got to be hooked up too. So I got two wires that need to pass through the firewall, and then this thing has to sit inside there and take up space. Now, in addition to that, we've got to put the flight battery. This is an A123 battery, and that's going to go in there, and that's going to power the radio. And then on top of that, there's another A123 battery that is going to power the flight box. So you need a battery. Anytime you got electronic ignition, you got to have a battery to power it. And that's going to hook onto that inside here and have an on-off switch on the side. So these are the components that are going to need to be inside this box right here. All right, so I was shooting a video last week talking about how my intent was I was going to take and cut a hatch in the bottom of the plane, and it was, I wasn't looking forward to it. I don't like having to put unnecessary hatches on the plane because, first of all, putting a hatch on here is going to kind of mess with the integrity of this whole box up in the front. And this box is going to have lots of vibration coming from the two-cycle engine. It's not a huge two-cycle engine, but it's of a size that it's going to cause some vibration. And I'd really like this box to be as strong as it can to resist, like crushing or vibrating or cracking the joints or anything like that. So yeah, this stuff's got to find a home. So I went over to my buddy Mark's house. I can't remember what I was doing. I was dropping off some parts to him or something like that. And he's working on a 4-star 120, which is the SIG version of the 4-star 40 airplane, only blown up big. And he's putting a very similar engine to the one I'm putting on mine. His is a 20cc. It's a smaller engine, but it's the same kind of design. It's got the rear carburetor on it, and it's going to be right up against the firewall, just like that, just like mine is. But he's doing something that he puts something on that firewall that I don't know if I believe in this because the carburetor is so close to the firewall. I mean, what is that? It's about maybe half an inch, somewhere around there, spaced from the firewall right there. So somewhere in the past, he has read that if you've got a carburetor that's got its intake is so close to the firewall, you're supposed to drill a hole in the firewall. And I thought, well, that's very clever because I can do that. And so I went ahead and came back here and I drilled a 3/4 inch hole in the firewall, which isn't big. He says it's supposed to, he read somewhere, it's supposed to help the airflow. So instead of the air coming from the sides and being compact and all that stuff, it's also got, it can pull it right out of the fuselage. I don't know if I believe that completely. I mean, I think it might be aerodynamic overkill or something for the flow of air that needs to go into the venturi. But anyways, so I thought, well, I don't necessarily believe in that, but I could sure use a hole in the firewall because then I could take and put this box in there. And if I made the hole big enough, I can get this stupid boot that needs to go on the spark plug through it, which is, that's the big holdup. There's no way to take this apart and do it. So this has got to go through. So I could fit that through there and it'll come through and hook into the spark plug on the engine. And then also the pickup wire can do the same thing, fit through that same hole. So that's what I did. And I just love it when an idea comes together like that. The hardest part of this hobby sometimes for me is the engineering of how something is going to get fixed or done. And this just answered all the questions with a simple hole in the firewall. So I'm really happy that I'm going to start working on that today. And we get this, and the battery, and the switches all put together. And yeah, hopefully I'm trying to make it so I can get this project done, because it's time to move on to other things. And I really want to fly this plane because it's been sitting here on the bench crying to me, hey, Dan, come fix me up so we can go fly. You know, it talks like that to me. It calls to me. So anyways, that's what I'll be working on today. But I did want to just throw out another quick video here to tell you where I'm at. Hopefully, the next video you see will actually be me flying this thing. There's a couple other steps that I'll take video along the way, and I'll show you that in the future. But for right now, I just want to get through this project. So anyways, thanks for stopping in today. I don't know how quick this video really was. I mean, I've been yapping for a long time now, but you know what? That's the way modeling is. There's so much to talk about. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping in. Ooh, I got one of these. Look at this. Boom!